Part 39. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 381. By the way, Xuanhuan also handed over his cell phone. How can you not admit it? It's obviously you liked me first, Suzy suddenly said anxiously. There's something fishy, I'll check it out. Xuanhuan had felt strange about some of Suzy's statements before, but she didn't say much at the time. After all, it was over, and it was meaningless to worry about who was moved. After all, she was the only one who was foolishly moved from beginning to end. Now she felt that it was meaningless and really didn't want to entangle. As a result, Suzy's parents finally couldn't help but jump out and persuade Xuanhuan earnestly. Jia 11, we have always been optimistic about you. My son was confused by that woman Xuan, really. Suzy has seen the true face of Xuan and promised not to have any contact in the future. Don't worry. No matter what the situation is, that little bitch will never be able to enter our house. Just as he was talking, he felt that a certain place suddenly became quiet. Everyone glanced at him and saw that Aunt Chin-san had just appeared with Xuan. At this time, Xuan was looking ugly. Aunt Chin-san was a little unhappy. She didn't know whether the situation between Xuan and Suzy was true or not. After all, Xuan had been hiding it from her and her son. She was just very angry when she heard the Su family belittle Xuan. She originally wanted to marry Xuan to Suzy. Suzy also saw Xuan, and suddenly panicked and dared not look at each other. Resentment flashed in Xuan's eyes. Others were also attracted. When Qin Lao's family came, they were confused. Fortunately, Ji Fei gave the answer the next second. So that's it, it's true. People are invincible when they are humble. It turns out that Suzy and Xuan have been together since high school, but they were secretly separated by Suzy's parents at that time. The two were sincere and wanted to elope together. Qin Lao's family was stunned when they heard it. Is it true? Did they elope? It's just that at that time, the Su family had already intended for their son to pursue Xuanhuan. The two had met twice at various gatherings. According to Xuanhuan's memory, they didn't know each other, but just knew that there was such a person. As a result, Suzy was disgusted by his parents' repeated mentions, from I don't like her and won't be with her to even if she likes me, I only want Xuan, and finally let Xuanhuan give up this idea, I will never love her. In fact, Xuanhuan was not familiar with him at all, and they had never even met. He relied on his absolute narcissism and self-confidence to complete his definition of Xuanhuan, thinking that the other party wanted to break up his marriage with Xuan and would do anything to be with him. This time, not only other people, but even Xuanhuan were shocked by Suzy's brain circuit. But it felt familiar, as if many scumbags were so self-righteous, and then unilaterally started a sadomasochistic relationship with girls. So this is what Suzy said, that you were the first to fall in love? They seemed to have seen the truth. Huh. So he thought that their elopement plan failed because of Xuanhuan. He and Xuan planned to escape that night and happened to meet Xuanhuan. He thought that Xuanhuan was the one who informed on him, so the family came to catch him, and the purpose was to get him by despicable means. But in fact, Xuanhuan had no impression at all that night, and just passed by without looking at him. It was their nanny who found out that he ran away, so someone came to catch him. Qin Lao's family wanted to curse when they heard this. So it was Suzy, the shameless guy, who thought that Xuanhuan liked him. Because of an encounter, he determined that Xuanhuan was hindering their love. Everyone suddenly understood what the farce on campus was. At that time, I was still thinking that Suzy was worse than a beast. He targeted an innocent girl for love. I don't understand why he hated Xuanhuan so much. Now I understand, he just regarded Xuanhuan as an enemy. When he met Uxian again in college, he took advantage of Qin Jiaxi and completed his revenge. So, at first he didn't know that Uxian might become the adopted daughter of the Qin family. Was he thinking of marrying Qin Jiaxi and then raising Uxian outside, because he knew his family would stop him, and he would never be able to marry Uxian, so he had to marry Qin Jiaxi and torture her forever. This was the punishment for not being able to go with his beloved woman. Ji Fei was silent, and was unable to complain about the dirty and filthy thoughts of some disgusting people. The Qin Lauer family laughed on the spot, and they were angry. "What are you doing?" Uncle Qin finally came. He didn't expect that. He didn't keep an eye on his daughter for a while, and there were flies around his daughter again. "I said, you are not allowed to get close to my daughter again." "Uncle, I'm sincere, Suzy tried to save it. Suzy's parents were also saying something, and the other Su family members who came to the banquet didn't want to slap their relatives on the spot, so they could only see the attitude of the Qin family first. "I don't care if you are sincere or not. I will not tolerate someone who hurt my daughter to harass her again. Please leave, otherwise don't blame me for being merciless," Uncle Qin-san said directly to protect his daughter. Suzy's parents panicked and hurriedly pulled Suzy, intending to make him kneel down. Even if Suzy knew the situation, he couldn't break the limit of his dignity. He stood there with his neck stiff, looking at Qin Jiaxi stubbornly and said, "You have liked me for so long, I don't believe that you can let go just like that. Take a step back and give each other a chance, and you will really have me. Is it a good thing to have a cheating, cold-blooded, violent scum like you?" Qin Chao couldn't help but complain loudly, "Our sister is so good, why can't she choose anyone else, but you? There is no self-abuse gene in our family." Suzy gritted his teeth angrily, still staring at Qin Jiaxi, hoping that Qin Jiaxi would be obedient as before. But there was no miracle. "I have liked you is the most regrettable thing I have done in my life, and it is a stain on my life," Qin Jiaxi said directly. Suzy seemed to have been drained of strength all of a sudden, staring blankly at the girl who had been humble to the dust in front of him, and now she could actually open her mouth to insult him. Suzy's parents also looked very ugly. Finally, at the signal of Uncle Qin-san, in order not to be driven away by the housekeeper, they could only drag Suzy away in embarrassment. But just as they arrived at the gate, Suzy's parents left Suzy and slapped him hard twice. "You also said that you have been holding Qin Jiaxi, and she must have you. You idiot, even if you wanted her early and made her pregnant, she would not leave you so easily. And you are chaste for other women, are you sick? Is this what you want? For a true love, you are really my good son, and you threw away the position of the head of the family. You really want to destroy our family." After saying that, Suzy's parents left very disappointed. Suzy has never experienced such a long period of denial and blame since he was a child. He felt that he was going crazy. Yes, why didn't he sleep with Qin Jiaxi for Uxian? If he slept with her, she would be his, and she would definitely be more obedient. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Yuze. Chapter 382. The farce here ended, and the people in the Su family quickly stepped forward to apologize. Uncle Qin felt sorry for his daughter, so he said, "If you are tired, let others take you back to the old house first. You don't have to stay all the time." Qin Jiaxi actually wanted to leave. After all, her mother and Uxian were here now, and she felt uncomfortable breathing the same air as those people. Little did she know that their Aunt Qin and Uxian were looking at her eagerly, like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. At this time Xuanhuan came out, walked directly to his mother, and whispered. Ji Fei raised her eyebrows and started. Qin Jiaxi was about to come over to tell everyone about her departure when she heard Aunt Qin calling her. Qin Jiaxi really didn't want to go, but she was still a mother in name only, so she couldn't pretend not to listen. What did you call her for? Uncle Chin now faced them as if he were facing a formidable enemy and intercepted them directly. Third Aunt Chin's face turned ugly. I haven't seen my daughter for so long, can't I talk to her? Ha! Uncle Chin almost laughed out loud. Sure enough, Third Aunt Chin also understood what he meant, and said somewhat uncomfortably, I just wanted to ask her if she would stay tonight. No, she will go back to her old house, Uncle Chin said directly. Would you like to take some clothes with you? Aunt Chin asked, pretending to be casual. Such an ordinary conversation, if it weren't for Ji-Fei and the others, they really wouldn't be able to hear the problem. Third Uncle Chin looked at Chin Jiaxi, who said, I'm going to clean up later. Third Aunt Chin and others breathed a sigh of relief. Xuanhuan suddenly said, someone is tired and sleeping in a nearby room. Go up and speak softly and don't disturb him. Chin Jiaxi hummed indifferently. This conversation is over. Yoho, are you afraid that if we go together, it will hinder your plan? Having said so much, it seems that the net can be closed. We have to go together later, which will scare you to death. Afterwards, Chin Jiaxi came to tell everyone that he would go back later. Everyone agreed. Chin Jiaxi was about to pack her luggage alone. Xuanhuan quickly sent a message secretly. As a result, I turned around and saw a group of people leaving with Chin Jiaxi. I immediately became anxious and wanted to come forward and find an excuse to stop them. But before he could say a few words, he heard a man's scream. Everyone was shocked. The housekeeper immediately rushed forward with his men, and Uncle Chin naturally followed closely behind. Damn, there's a good show, hurry up. Ji-Fei's heart suddenly exploded, and she pulled Qin Xian and ran wildly. Qin Lao's family will definitely not let go of the freshly baked melon. Although they don't know what it is, it must be exciting enough to make the Melon King run wild. Because a group of people ran wildly, everyone was very curious. Almost everyone in the Qin family followed, and those who were brave also rushed into the main building. The children were even more naughty and joined in the fun. At this time, Aunt Qin and the three of them were already confused. What happened? Why is there another man's voice? When Ji-Fei and the others went upstairs, they saw that the housekeeper had broken open the door. That location is Chin Jiaxi's room. When Uncle Chin saw it, he was immediately shocked. He rushed over to take a look, and his blood pressure immediately rose. He saw the figures of two men entangled on his daughter's bed. Screams, gasps, and scuffles. A fat man with a red face held down Suzy, whose face was also full of blood. Both of them were disheveled and looked at each other fiercely, but their bodies were twisting and turning. Obviously not normal. And such anomalies occurred in his daughter's room. Immediately call someone to splash water. Ji-Fei and Qin Xian were just in time to watch a wonderful scene. The fat man wanted to kiss Suzy. Suzy tried his best to stop him, but he couldn't help but get closer to the fat man. But soon, Ji-Fei's eyes were covered by Qin Xian. Don't look at it, it's dirty. Ah, I haven't seen it clearly yet. Are they really done? Qin Xian, probably not. Ah, Ji-Fei's tone was quite regretful. At this time, some children had already seen it and kept exchanging with their parents. A man is staying with my brother. They hugged each other. Shame, shame, shame. People who couldn't see the scene originally thought it was an accident. When they heard this, everyone's hair stood up in shock and they all looked at the Su family members who were still present. The faces of the host family all turned pale, and of course the other three people were paler than them. They had no idea why this was happening. Before the host's family could rush forward, the servants had already dragged one of them out of the main building like a dead dog. The Su family wanted to stop him, but they saw Uncle Chin's gloomy face, as if he was planning to interrogate him. Because they had already heard that it was Chin Jiaxi's room. Just after being rejected, their Suzy appeared in Chin Jiaxi's room to have sex with other men, and he was obviously drugged. They knew that it was definitely not Uncle Chin's revenge. After all, people would not ruin their daughter's room, so they dare not think about the remaining possibilities. Looking at the fat man being dragged out, Third Aunt Chin's face was pale and green. She was so nervous that she could only hold her son's and Xuanhuan's hands. What should I do? Xuanhuan said irritably, I don't know either. Why is Suzy here? Xuanhuan stared at Suzy with pity. She could guess that Suzy probably wanted to be tough and take possession of Qin Jiaxi. He thought that this would make Qin Jiaxi look back. Sure enough, a man's mouth is a liar. His words about never touching Qin Jiaxi are all lies. Because of the baptism of cold water, the two people have regained their composure. The fat man's face is pale, but Suzy looks at the fat man with murderous eyes. What are you doing in Jiaxi's room? What did you do to me? Who are you? I want to ask you, why did you come to this room? I am Qin Jiaxi's future marriage partner. As soon as the fat man finished speaking, his collar was grabbed by someone. What did you say? The fat man turned his head and met Uncle Qin's murderous eyes, and immediately shrank back and said, yes, Aunt Li said that she promised to let me marry Qin Jiaxi in the future. I just want to get familiar with my wife in advance. The so-called Aunt Li is Qin's Aunt Li Xuanhuan. Uncle Qin's eyes were about to pop out, leaving the fat man behind, and turned his head to look at Aunt Qin like a demon. The people you brought? Yes, they were just trying to match us up in front of us, Qin Chao mocked, but weren't they rejected? Why did they sneak into the room again? And wasn't Mr. Suzy also rejected just now? You were discussing your thoughts together in the room. Explain, Uncle Qin yelled out of control. He didn't dare to think about what was going on. At this time, Ji Fei had already taken back his phone, happily saved the video, and found the projection screen of the birthday party. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Yuze. Chapter 383. The projection screen for the birthday party was in the garden, and what was shown before was Aunt Qin's portrait. Now because everyone is watching the show, they didn't even notice that the screen here went off. Qin Xian accompanied Ji Fei to tinker with the computer and handed over his mobile phone. Ji Fei's eyes lit up instantly. The other Qin family members stayed with Qin Jiaxi. Qin Jiaxi was dumbfounded. She stared blankly at the two men, and then mechanically turned to look at her mother and brother. But when they faced the furious Sansu Qin, they still wanted to quibble. Maybe, we went to the wrong place. He is indeed a junior, I know. I asked him to rest upstairs. Aunt Qin came to her senses and remembered the words she had prepared before. Xuanhuan also nodded nervously and said, that's it? As for what will happen next, we have no idea at all. After saying that, Xuanhuan winked fiercely at the fat man. Who is he? Why did you introduce him to Jiaxi? What's your idea? Uncle Qin asked. Third Aunt Qin immediately became unreasonable and said, what ideas can I have? How can I harm my daughter? I just want her to make more friends. Then how did they manage to get drugged and are still in Jiaxi's room? What do they want to do? Uncle Qin shouted. Third Aunt Qin and Xuanhuan were already sweating profusely. Suzy immediately said, Uncle, this has nothing to do with me. I originally wanted to talk to Jiaxi alone, but I didn't expect that there was a man hiding in this room, and as soon as I entered, he was kind enough to spray some water on my face. And then my body became limp and uncontrollable. There must be a conspiracy. Even if they knew that this fat man might be related to Xuanhuan, even if they were brothers, they would both fly away when the disaster came. You are not a good person. Who are you? You sneaked into my daughter's room secretly. Do you still think you are okay? Third Uncle Chin ignored Suzy at all. But he also knew that the biggest problem at this time was this fat man of unknown origin. No. It was not that he had unknown origins. He was obviously someone brought by his wife, and he was probably planning to let his daughter follow him. Uncle Chin's eyes were getting redder and redder. He stepped forward and kicked the fat man over, saying, "Say. You asked me to do it? I, I didn't do anything, it wasn't me, I." The fat man was actually scared, but Xuanhuan gave him a wink that made him dare not say it easily. Xuanhuan stepped forward at this time and said, "Dad, since this matter is related to my little sister's innocence, why not leave it to me? There are really many guests now." Third Aunt Chin also reacted immediately and said, "Yes, I will ask his parents for questioning. Please don't interfere in this matter." Suddenly the microphone made a shrill sound that echoed throughout the audience. "Hey, hey, hey, mother and son over there, please stop acting. Those who don't know would think you care too much about GXC." Everyone followed the sound and saw Qin Xian and Ji Fei standing next to the big screen, smiling and speaking. This is an internal matter of our family, please don't interfere," Xuanhuan yelled immediately. "Oh, really?" Ji Fei said with a half smile but not a smile, "but when I just went to GXC's room, I accidentally left my phone there. What's even more accidental, I clicked on the video before leaving." Everyone, are you really careless? No matter, it seems like a big melon to eat. The moment the video played, Xuanhuan turned pale and was about to rush over, but was kicked to the ground by Uncle Chin. Uncle Chin looked at the embarrassed Xuanhuan on the ground with cold eyes. He hoped that everything would not be as bad as he thought. But he was destined to be disappointed. When Xuanhuan was struggling desperately to get up, his voice was already heard from the stereo. "You just hide under the bed and wait for my sister to come over. When she comes, she will trigger the mechanism and the potion will spray out, and you will also be affected. As long as you seize the opportunity, you will be the son-in-law of our Qin family from now on." Everyone stared dumbfounded at this beastly behavior in broad daylight. The brother led the gangster into his sister's room, let the gangster hide under his sister's bed, and then designed the mechanism himself. This almost completely tore the image of Mr. Xuanhuan into pieces, allowing everyone to clearly see the rotten and disgusting thing underneath. Oh my God, how could there be such a brother? Even if you don't like it, you can't let someone use drugs to rape your sister. What kind of hatred or resentment? They are not brothers and sisters, they are enemies. Before, I was wondering if there was some misunderstanding about the rumor in the university. Now I have no doubt at all. It's Brother Lang with a heart and a dog's lungs and a white eye. Don't talk about brother, you are simply unworthy of me." Uncle Chin and Qin Jiaxi both looked at that scene with pale faces. Seeing Xuanhuan's almost decisive behavior, they didn't feel any uneasy conscience at all. Xuanhuan was completely confused by this moment and no longer struggled. He knew that it was all over, and that his life would forever have an indelible stain. At this moment, he seemed to regret it. Why did he listen to his mother and Uxin and take such a risk to get to this point? He felt that his brain was not very clear anymore. There was no blood on Aunt Chin's lips, and she was trembling slightly. There was Uxin's voice next to her, "Auntie, what should I do?" Third Aunt Chin still wanted to calm down and find a way to save her. But the video continues. The fat man was still timid after all, and couldn't help but said, "Is this really okay? When the effect of the medicine wears off, your sister will die or live. Can your father easily expose it? My safety is guaranteed. Don't worry, leave the rest to my mother. When I came up with this method, my mother had already made a plan. Anyway, after this medicine is used up, it won't be found out. At that time, you can say that you drank too much. As long as you just bite Qin Jiaxi to death voluntarily. After all, it is a scandal. If word spreads that it will be bad for my sister, my father will not act arbitrarily. When the time comes, my mother will pretend to be worried about your affairs, be in pain, and pretend to have a stomachache, and my father will definitely not dare to pursue it. After all, Qin Jiaxi doesn't dare to bear the reputation that may cause my mother to miscarry. In the end, she may even let you marry my sister if she cries. Will she agree? I'm not happy with how she looks today. Oh, it doesn't matter if you don't like it. When the time comes, my mother will cry and cry in the circle of ladies, letting everyone know that my sister has been slept with by you, and who will dare to marry her to him. When the time comes, you will really get married, control her well, don't let her always jump out to fight against me and fight against you Xin, Xuanhuan said cruelly. At this moment, the entire audience could hear a pin drop. Everyone looked at Aunt Qin. There was only one thought in her mind. My biological mother was actually involved. Forget about my disgusting brother, this woman who gave birth to a child in 10 months of pregnancy actually wanted to give her daughter to a wild man who didn't know where she came from. What is the structure of the brain? In this way, she was still in their circle of ladies. The old sisters who had been friends with her in the past were now eager to stay away from her, and they all impulsively wanted to delete their contact information on the spot. It's a feeling that cannot be described in 2 words, vicious. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 384. There was already a lot of discussion around, and many people suddenly realized it. I thought, how dare they use such a clumsy trick to deal with Qin Jiaxi. It turned out that she was her own mother, so she had complete control and control. And you can also hold the emperor hostage to order the princes. He talks about everything on his own terms, and everything can be easily solved. It's really outrageous. At this moment, Aunt Qin felt that the blood all over her body was flowing backwards, and her body began to hurt. She was not pretending, it was really hurting. She couldn't stand any longer, and Xin quickly supported her. Third Aunt Qin was already so distraught that she turned to look at her husband, wanting to shake her head in defense, but she only met a pair of eyes that wanted to kill her. Third Aunt Qin's legs were almost weak. Xin has now started to change her mind, thinking about how to ensure that she escapes unscathed. As a result, he was betrayed immediately. Because Xuanhuan mentioned her, the fat man said, "Ah, why don't you just marry my sister? It just so happens that I will marry your sister and you marry my sister, double happiness. Anyway, your father doesn't have to plan to adopt her." Xin's expression suddenly changed, and everyone around him began to talk about how they were actually brother and sister. So the whole family is plotting against Uncle Qin and his daughter with the help of Third Aunt Qin and Xuanhuan. It is simply unbelievable. Were Aunt Qin and Xuanhuan decapitated? And this statement made Uncle Qin even more guessing about something. His whole body had begun to tremble uncontrollably. He couldn't believe what would have happened to his daughter and what would have happened to his family if he hadn't discovered this. The video continued. Xuanhuan ignored the fat man's teasing, arranged everything and left. The fat man was lying leisurely under the bed, waiting for his prey to come. Jifei walked in quickly, and soon the door was opened, and quietly. At first glance, it seemed that he was not looking for someone seriously. No one wants to believe such an obvious act of sneaking in and saying that they just want to come in and talk. When he saw himself, Suzy finally panicked, "That's enough, don't let me go, you're invading my privacy." "You still know how to write the word privacy?" someone laughed. "I think he obviously has no good intentions. Who knows if he has the same idea as that fat man?" Now everyone is wondering what that scream was about. But the Su family didn't look good. They hesitated for a while, but still wanted to shamelessly stop the family scandal. But in the end it was too late. Around the bed, a stream of water dripped down. In the video, Suzy wiped his hands inexplicably, and then fell down on the bed instantly. The fat man under the bed couldn't see the person at first because of the sheets, but he only received the text message. When he heard the movement, he immediately crawled out excitedly. When he saw that it was a man, he was stunned, but soon, he also fell down and pressed on Suzy's body. The drug gradually took effect. The two wanted to struggle, but they couldn't help but hug each other and gnaw. The scene was so real it hurt the eyes, and many people around started covering other people's eyes. "Don't let go, don't let go, ah," Suzy screamed wildly, but he was still pressed by the servant and couldn't break free. Suddenly a scream came from the video. Although the two of them didn't take off their pants, it was obvious that the fat man was out of control and wanted to attack. Only then would Suzy scream out of fright, and then start struggling desperately. Then everyone broke in. Ji-Fei turned off the video and put away her phone with a smile. "Okay, you don't have to read the last part, but I'm just curious. I think everyone is as curious as me, and it's so embarrassing to let GXE be bullied for so long and try to take GXE by force. A little lesson should be learned." Suzy's whole body seemed to have faded, and he wished he could disappear. Someone is laughing. What some people saw was a living hell. Uncle Qin and Qin GXE didn't dare to think that if the situation really happened, with Qin GXE's small body, he probably wouldn't be able to even resist and scream. Uncle Qin's expression has completely changed. Fourth Uncle Qin looked on and saw something wrong. He was worried that third brother would do something serious, so he immediately reminded, "Third brother, let's call the police and let the police deal with it first. Wait for the third brother to calm down before handling the follow-up, otherwise I don't know if someone will die in a rage." "No, you can't call the police," and Qin actually jumped out at this time. The Su family couldn't help but come forward to talk. Qin GXE said with red eyes, "Dad, I want to call the police." Uncle Qin endured it, suppressed his temper and said, "Okay, call the police." "Dad, if you call the police, I will also be in trouble." Xuanhuan immediately begged for mercy. "Dad, I was wrong, I really know I was wrong." Uncle Qin kicked him away, picked up his cell phone and called the police. Xuanhuan's face instantly turned pale. Third Aunt Qin also rushed over and wanted to make a fuss, but third Uncle Qin grabbed her wrist and warned, "There are some things that I will settle with you after I investigate them clearly. You'd better not make a fuss." This was the first time she had seen such a vicious Uncle Qin. She didn't dare to struggle anymore and could only say weakly, husband, don't be like this, I'm scared." "Then why don't you think about whether your biological daughter is afraid or not?" Uncle Qin said harshly. The fat man also said anxiously, "Don't call the police, don't call the police. If you insist on suing me, then I will sue your son." Xuanhuan looked at the fat man in disbelief for a moment. "What?" The fat man immediately said, "Your son slept with my sister, and I didn't sleep with your daughter. You took advantage. If you dare to sue, I will also sue Xuanhuan for raping my sister." After saying that, the fat man immediately looked at Xuan and said, "Sister, help me, help my brother. My brother can't go to jail. Dad will definitely not allow me to go to jail." Xuan's face changed immediately. She was disgusted that her brother almost slept with her boyfriend before, and she didn't want to face Suzy. Now another truth was revealed, and now she didn't dare to face Suzy. "You, don't talk nonsense." In Xuan's view, at least one must be saved. Now Xuanhuan will definitely be abandoned by the Qin family. After all, he harmed his own sister, but Suzy may not. What's more, Xuanhuan doesn't want outsiders to know about their relationship, so it's absolutely right to deny it. I saw it with my own eyes, so don't deny it. Saving your brother is important, the fat man said anxiously. What? Suzi's voice suddenly sounded. Although he just suffered a huge shock and had to face the biggest trouble, all this was caused by his sweetheart Uxin. Now some people say that Uxin is still with someone else. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Use. Chapter 385. This information hit Suzi, and the power of the green hat made him instantly care about nothing else. He grabbed Uxin. What do you mean, you betrayed me? Aren't you and him just brother and sister? At this time, Xuanhuan seemed to realize it later, and his head buzzed. In fact, he had already broken the jar just now. No matter how the fat man messed around, or whether his relationship with Uxin was exposed, it didn't matter. Anyway, Uxin was not his adopted sister, so it wouldn't be a big problem. The problem now was that his father wanted to call the police to arrest him. But when he saw Suzi questioning Uxin, he was also dumbfounded. What does it mean? Isn't this the little delicate flower he raised from childhood to adulthood? When did she get together with his buddies? When did she really steal his sister's boyfriend? Shouldn't Uxin follow him wholeheartedly? He was also planning for her wholeheartedly, paving the way for her brothers, calculating his father and calculating his sister. What is going on? What's the situation with you two? For a while, it became a sure confrontation between three people. Uxin was panicking. She couldn't let her cheating be exposed. She had to find a way. But the facts hit her cruelly again. It was the damn microphone again. You always said you were innocent before. GXC wronged you, so we investigated. Fei's voice, who was watching the fun, sounded again. At the same time, the big screen changed to another surveillance video. It was the corridor of the hotel. Suzi walked over and knocked on the door. Uxin opened the door, and then the two of them hugged each other and started to eat at the door. In the end, Suzi closed the door with his legs, but his arms had already taken off his clothes. It was obvious what to do. Time passed quickly. 3 hours later, Suzi was buttoning his clothes while being sent out by Uxin in a bathrobe. They lingered at the door for a while before they separated. Several hours later, on the same day, in the evening, Xuanhuan came. The one who opened the door was still Uxin, who was wearing a bathrobe. Xuanhuan seemed a little irritated, so he suddenly hooked his hand on the back of Uxin's head and kissed her forcefully, but Uxin was not forced. She jumped up by herself, climbed on Xuanhuan's body, hooked her legs around him, kissed him inextricably, and walked into the room. Xuanhuan didn't leave until the next morning. Looking at the smooth movements, it can be seen that these people are not the first time. Uxin had always been able to move between the two of them with ease. The people around probably only knew that she was with one person. This was the first time that all the thunder exploded. Uxin opened her mouth and stared in amazement, with black waves in front of her eyes. Xuanhuan and Suzi exploded directly. Rather than saying that Xuanhuan listened to his mother's words, he actually wanted to pave a way for Uxin, whom he loved, to be by his side. Suzi dealt with Xuanjiexi because of Uxin, and even thought about helping Uxin obtain an identity and finally marrying her. They all gave their true hearts, thinking that Uxin also loved them wholeheartedly, but now the two of them were like clowns, with green lights on their heads. It was really ridiculous. Damn, bitch, Xuanhuan jumped up and slapped Uxin in the face. I've been ruined for you, despised by my family, and even cuckolded. You've been playing tricks on me? Cheating me, using me. Uxin, when did you start cheating on me? Why do you treat me like this? I love you so much, and I'm going to lose everything for you. Do you deserve me? Suzi also roared, bitch, bitch, bitch. The people around quickly moved aside, but still watched. I didn't expect she was so charming, and she made two rich young masters run around in circles. I have to say, she is good at pretending, and her time management is too good. I am dying of laughter, a brother, a boyfriend, for such a woman to deal with Chin Jiaxi like this. I am really curious, once she succeeds, will Uxin always be so good at playing both sides? Maybe she will accompany her boyfriend at school and her brother at home. It's really disgusting. Uxin's face was almost bleeding from the humiliation, she couldn't bear it anymore, and she broke down and yelled. Shut up, you think you are good things, you are bitches, the biggest bitches in the world. Oh, it started, the famous scene of dog biting dog. If Uxin is more powerful, all the truth will be exposed. Ji Fei said excitedly. At this time, Suzy and Xuanhuan still looked like victims who were betrayed and deceived by the scumbag. You shameless woman, you actually scolded me. You have no conscience. Uxin laughed, haha, I am shameless, I have no conscience, but how good are you? You all say you love me, but you all abandon me so easily. Uxin pointed at Xuanhuan and said, don't think I don't know what you're thinking. You seem to love me very much. You even betrayed your own sister for me and stood on my side in everything. But if you really love me, why don't you marry me? Why do you have to make me your sister? Isn't it because you think my status is not worthy of you, the eldest young master of the Qin family? You still think that your wife's status should be that of a rich lady. I am only worthy of being your underground lover, and I am living with you in the dark. You make me your sister just for your convenience. With our relationship, will you let me get married normally? Or after getting married, can you let me go? Don't talk about love or not. Even if there is love, it is after all your interests. After these words came out, Xuanhuan was dumbfounded, and then became angry. And when the people around heard it, hey. Yes, it seems to be the case. They were all hooked up, but for Uxin, Xuanhuan did a lot of crazy things, and even hurt his own sister so miserably. Since she is such a treasure, just marry him back home. The Qin family has never been a family that must marry. If Xuanhuan sees this, Uxin may really marry into the Qin family. But if this doesn't work, it means that Xuanhuan doesn't want to marry Uxin at all, just like Uxin said, the interests are at hand. Then accusing her of cheating, whether she loves him or not, seems ridiculous. Xuanhuan was exposed and wanted to beat someone up, but Uncle Qin stopped him. What about me? I am sincere to you, and I really plan to marry you. You clearly know that. Suzy shouted. Uxin smiled contemptuously. Suzy seemed to remember something and could only say, now, but when we were together, I was sincere. Why did you betray me and cheat? Suzy, stop being funny. You have been acting affectionate for so long, so you really think you are affectionate? Do you want me to expose you on the spot? Uxin mocked. What? Suzy was stunned. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbs feed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Yuze. Chapter 386. Uxin's smile looked a bit heartbreaking. At first I didn't want to get involved in the affairs of the Qin family and our family. I really fell in love with you and wanted to elope with you, but how did you treat me? Uxin said. Suzy's face was a little pale, but he still said stubbornly, I want to go with you, you know, it's Qin Jiaxi. Qin Jiaxi didn't know why she suddenly mentioned herself. She was still slowly accepting the impact of various big melons, and the whole person was in a trance. Don't come on, when I met Qin Jiaxi in college, I found that she didn't know us at all. How could someone who didn't have us in her eyes see us eloping in high school and go to complain to your parents? Uxin directly exposed, it's ridiculous, you keep saying that Qin Jiaxi liked you first, you are really self-deceiving, and you lied to yourself. She only saw you in high school and didn't know you at all. How could you not know this kind of thing when you first met in college? You know, you just pretend not to know. Because you want to continue to lie to yourself. The truth is that you deliberately took me to Qin Jiaxi who was passing by, but Qin Jiaxi walked away without even looking at me. You told me that you might be recognized and that she might complain. I thought it was true and tried my best to run away with you. As a result, you didn't want to elope with me at all, but you were too embarrassed to say it out loud. You were too embarrassed to face your own retreat and wanted to find someone to take the blame to stop you. You regretted it before you left. You designed to let the nanny find out that you were missing at home, but there was no news. That's why you came up with this trick when you saw Qin Jiaxi. Suzi's pupils shrank, and he wanted to speak to stop something. Uxin didn't give him a chance, and continued to mock, from the beginning to the end, I was sincere to go with you, and you didn't want to lose your life as a young master at all. No, it's not like that. It was Qin Jiaxi who wanted to get me, so she deliberately stopped us from eloping. It was her. What are you talking about? I didn't even know you in high school, Qin Jiaxi finally shouted in shock. So Suzi meant that she started it first. Uxin smiled and said, Qin Jiaxi, you don't have to argue. He won't admit that he is such a despicable coward. One of the reasons why he treated you like that in college is because he wanted to cover up his meanness and pretend that you really did the snitch in revenge, which prevented us from being together. So he treated you like that without any psychological burden. Qin Jiaxi was already trembling. She couldn't bear the evil of her mother and brother for a reason. This kind of evil without a reason really made her feel sick. Did she really just happen to pass by and encounter such a thing? All this was too disgusting. The people around him also whispered, thinking that Suzi was even less of a man than they had imagined, and was extremely despicable. No, what I said is true. It's not that I'm sorry for you, it's that you're sorry for me. Suzi still refused to admit it. But Uxin said, then let me ask you, if you really want to leave, can't you come to me in a few days and call me? You seem to have assumed that the future was decided that day, and you can't come again if you fail. Do you think I'm stupid? Your behavior completely proves that you don't want to elope with me at all, so how can you blame me for cheating now? Suzi completely lost all his strength at this moment. After all, the last piece of fig leaf was taken away. His despicable and ugly thoughts were completely exposed, and he no longer had the confidence to refute and question. I just want to be rich and live a good life. I deliberately deal with you two because you can't trust me. I want to take the safest way, but you two are useless, and you are all trash. Damn, at this moment, I was a little amazed. I used to think that Uxin just wanted to snatch men, all kinds of snatches, but I didn't expect, she is not a love-brained person at all. This guy is cruel. He really exposed everything. When he said he would expose it, he checked it more carefully than I did. Qin Lao's family felt the same way when they heard this. They always felt that she was fearless now. Sure enough, people who can give up everything are the most terrifying. Qin Jiaxi looked at Suzi, and even felt numb to this person. She felt that being angry with him was a waste. Seeing one or two people being played like this by Uxin, Qin Jiaxi felt that it was another kind of retribution. Uncle Qin patted his baby daughter's head and said, "Don't think about it, Don't take it to heart, it's all dirty stuff, Dad will remember it for you, not a single penny will be lost, and I will help you settle it back. Just after he finished speaking, Uncle Chin's phone began to vibrate. He still held Aunt Chin's phone with one hand. He didn't want to answer it, but it vibrated too many times, so he took it out and took a look. As a result, a pair of tiger eyes showed a sharp look, and he replied a few words with one hand. Then he looked at Aunt Chin coldly. People around were still talking about the love triangle. Suzy and Xuanhuan couldn't help but glare at Xuan, their eyes seemed to say that they would not let her go. But Xuan didn't care. Anyway, all her plans failed, so what did she have to lose? Not only did she have nothing to lose, she also wanted to drag everyone down with her. If she didn't live well, no one else would live well. Her brother had to bring bad luck to her at this time. Xuan, you're crazy. What should we do if you do this? I'm going to go to the police station later. Apologize quickly and beg them to forgive you. Don't implicate me. Involved, what qualifications do you have to say such things? You have been supported by me for half your life, so what? You can't bear anything once something happens, Xuan said coldly, you and Dad are both useless, you owe me this life. When he heard Xuan mention Dad, Uncle Chin tightened his grip on Aunt Chin, but Aunt Chin was too flustered to care, she was afraid that Xuan would say something else. Xuan, that's enough, you said enough, since calling the police has nothing to do with you, go. Maybe it was a crisis between women, Aunt Chin always felt that something was about to happen. Xuan smiled and said to Uncle Chin, Mr. Chin, I know I am sorry for your daughter. Now I have a big secret to tell you, I hope that in exchange you won't trouble me in the future. Uncle Chin's face had changed, and his voice almost trembled when he spoke, tell me first. Xuan didn't keep it a secret, and was about to speak. Shut up, Aunt Chin yelled with horror. If you are so scared, how dare you do it, Xuan said with a smile. I haven't let you down, have I, Aunt Chin-san said in horror. Xuan said, what do you think? If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have stayed in the orphanage forever. I could go home instead of being a fake orphan. Being looked down upon and said that I was a wild child without a father or a mother and no one wanted me. Isn't it you who caused all this? Madam Chin, oh no, it should be my father's old lover. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Yu. Chapter 387. Everyone had not recovered from Xuan's exposure just now, and their nerves were trembling again. An old flame? So, Xuan is the daughter of Ms. Jin-san's old lover? It seems that everything has a reason. How can one's own mother not love her children, unless the mother does not love the child's father, but loves other men more? Therefore, Ms. Jin-san not only wanted to adopt her daughter from her old lover, but also wanted to marry her daughter to her son. No matter how despicable the other party's character is, in the eyes of Ms. Jin-san, she is always good, so she will not hesitate even if she ruins her own children. This is all about turning your elbows outward and trying your best to suck the Chin family's blood to support your old lover's family. Everyone's eyes were like knives scraping bones, constantly attacking Aunt Chin. Aunt Chin's mind went blank and her lips pursed. She wanted to deny it, but she heard a roar, what old lover? The person who yelled was not Third Uncle Chin. Third Uncle Chin just looked at her pitifully. It was Xuanhuan who shouted loudly. Xuanhuan looked at his mother with a ferocious expression. Seeing Xuan smiled contemptuously, fool, do you think that the reason why we have known each other since childhood was because your mother needed a cover in the beginning? Everything she did was to break the connection with her old lover. You are also a tool, otherwise why don't you let your own son love your own daughter, but why do you want to love me, an outsider? It's just you, a fool, who was deceived. After hearing this, Xuanhuan's expression went blank, and his whole body was hit and lost all strength. What did his two most important women do to him? Third Aunt Xuan's face was covered with tears and she looked extremely miserable, but no one could sympathize with her at this time. Xuan continued to output, and said disgustedly to Third Aunt Xuan, "You are shameless, and you insist on raising children for your old lover, and you keep giving me support money under the pretext of doing charity. In fact, you know that this money will last wherever I go, you use me as a bridge to give money to your old lover. Just because you keep giving money, my dad didn't come to pick me up. Only he and my brother enjoyed a normal life in their hometown, but I was left alone since I was a child. Living in an orphanage, I could have become a normal person without having to deal with two men. Do you think I have to be grateful to you?" Having said this, Xuan smiled cruelly and said to Third Uncle Xuan, "Actually, those two life-saving graces were done by mother and son to pave the way for you to adopt me. They were all fake." Another truth was revealed, and the whole audience exclaimed again. Xuanhuan completely threw Aunt Xuan and Xuanhuan's face to the ground and trampled on them. Uncle Xuan sneered twice and said, "Li Xuan, hello, you are very kind. I ask myself that I have never felt sorry for you in this life, but you are so cruel." Third Aunt Xuan knew that there was no hope of retorting, so she could only cowardly say to Third Uncle Xuan, "Husband, my stomach hurts. I feel uncomfortable in my stomach. Seeing as I am pregnant because of your age, don't do this to me, you can't just because I miss my old relationship and take care of other people's children. Ha ha ha, Aunt, you are so shameless. You threatened Mr. Xuan with my father's child. You are really good at it?" Xuan's words completely caused Aunt Xuan to collapse and yell, "You are talking nonsense. How can you use this kind of thing to slander me? I was so kind to you before, but you are just a white-eyed wolf." Third Aunt Xuan did those things very secretly, behind Xuan's back, so she didn't think Xuan would know about it, and just thought she was making random assumptions. "As long as you are firm, the other party will not dare to throw dirty water. Oh, do you think you hid it well? My dad has been having an affair with you since he came here half a year ago. You gave my dad a house, and I installed a surveillance camera. I saw you two still having sex on the sofa in the living room at your age. It really disgusts me. You forgot that time. You told my dad personally that you were pregnant with his child. But Mr. Xuan was on a business trip, so she had to ask him to come back quickly and register the child, so that when I become pregnant adopted daughter, my brother has become a son-in-law, and if there is a younger brother to inherit, then everything in the Xuan family will be yours, and you can stay together for the rest of your life without being separated again." Xuan poured out all her secrets, turned to look at Mr. Xuan and said, "These secrets are enough to protect me. If you want evidence, I also have video backup." "No, no, husband, don't listen to this bitch's nonsense, I didn't." Aunt Xuan was completely panicked and explained crazily. People around looked at their Aunt Xuan with contempt on their faces. They really didn't expect this woman to be so shameless. Fortunately, she was exposed, otherwise the Xuan family's father and daughter were really innocent and wronged, and they were calculated from the beginning. The one to the end. Third Aunt Xuan's Li family moved overseas many years ago, and now all the people attending the birthday party here are distant relatives. Seeing this scene, they were too frightened to come forward and secretly contacted the Li family to explain the situation. Xuan Jiaxi couldn't bear it and leaned against Xuan Rong. Although she had told herself not to care about her mother, the truth she didn't want to know exploded one by one. The shock she suffered today could make her doubt her life. The other Xuan family members were naturally filled with indignation. They did not expect that their third master would be tricked like this. Xuan Wenqiang, who was almost fooled before, stepped forward angrily and scolded her. Ji Fei and Xuan Xian were just watching the show from the sidelines. After all, Xuanhuan was full of firepower and there was no room for them to take action. Xuanhuan is really fierce, even stronger than my system. It seems that she has been resentful since she was a child. Although she seems to have given her a relatively comfortable life, she has been abandoned, used, and forever putting it in the second place. No wonder it is so twisted in her eyes. Family love is probably unreliable. Seeing those people crying bitterly, Xuanhuan's eyes were full of joy, but he also showed a trace of confusion. Ji-Fei looked at Uncle Qin and others again and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Perhaps, among wealthy families, the Qin family is really an exception. Everyone is kind-hearted, never uses power to oppress others, and is very well educated. On the contrary, it creates the illusion for others that they are easy to deceive and manipulate. Some evil people just bully the weak and fear the strong, and feel offended. The Qin family will not die in the worst case, so anyone dares to plot against the Qin family. After all, as long as they take the risk and plot once, they will get whatever they want. Qin Lao's family was really embarrassed when they heard such complaints. On the other side, Third Aunt Qin suddenly got angry and said to Third Uncle Qin, "If you don't believe me, then I might as well die with my child." After saying that, he actually wanted to jump from the pool on the side. This is completely crazy. Crying and making fuss are not enough, so you just hang yourself? It's a pity that Uncle Qin no longer cares about her at all, but some of the guests were afraid of causing harm to their lives, so they instinctively stopped her. But Third Aunt Qin stopped unexpectedly, broke down, and cried, "Wanting to live or die, since you don't believe it, what's the use of having this child?" Really? Don't you ask about the child's father," Uncle Qin suddenly said. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 388. Not long after, I saw two bodyguards bringing a middle-aged man in from outside. For a moment, Aunt Qin was stunned. "Dad, save me," the fat man shouted quickly. "My little sister is crazy, she told everything." Xuanhuan snorted coldly, not having any feelings for this father. Maybe she didn't understand at first and thought that her father was willing to take her away after divorcing her mother because he really liked her as a daughter. As she grew up, she gradually understood that in fact, what good could a gambler like her father do by taking his daughter away? He just wanted to have a good product in his hands when he had no money. He was not willing to part with his precious son. "If you sell it, your daughter will have no problem." It just happened that he hooked up with his old lover, so Xuanhuan changed his role. The man looked panicked. He looked at his detained son, then at his daughter, and finally at the crazy image of Aunt Qin. His calves had already begun to tremble. He was so frightened that he didn't dare to speak. He was forced to break open the door and tied out of the house. After all, he still didn't dare to confront the so-called wealthy family head-on. Not to mention that he slept with someone else's wife and planned to make someone else a cheap father. Before Aunt Qin could speak again, the man looked at Uncle Qin, who was slowly walking towards him. Seeing the murderous look on his body, he was so frightened that he didn't care. A brain said, "It's none of my business, it's your wife who doesn't want to be lonely and insists on seducing me. I'm short of money, so she used money to force me to be with her. She took the initiative in everything." When the man said this, Aunt Qin's whole body began to tremble, and the chill in her heart spread to the surroundings instantly. What did you say?" Aunt Qin looked at the man infatuatedly, as if she were a poor woman who had been let down. No man dared to look at her. "I said no, it's you who keeps seducing me, and you don't want a divorce. You just want me to be your lover, and you said it was for the good of the children." I said, "This is very immoral, I really don't want to." Naturally, not many people believed what this man said. Everyone knew that he was shirking responsibility. But this makes it even more funny. A wealthy lady went through so many morally corrupt things for him, but in the end she didn't get a trace of true love back. I wonder how regretful Aunt Jean will be. Everyone looked at Aunt Jean, expecting her reaction, but she rolled her eyes and fainted. This time she was not pretending, she really fainted. At the same time, the police car that called the police earlier also arrived. This farce has to be put on hold. As if he finally realized something, Xuanhuan was no longer as unruly as usual this time. He threw himself in front of Uncle Qin, with tears of regret on his face. "Dad, I was wrong, I was really wrong, I had no idea she was cheating on her. I was completely misled by those two women. Dad, don't let the police catch me. I really knew I was wrong." But Uncle Qin just looked at him expressionlessly. Xuanhuan was stunned and immediately turned to Qin Jiaxi and said, "Sister, help me to intercede. I really know that I was wrong. When you were a child, I loved you very much. I was just confused and brainwashed for a moment. We are flesh and blood, my beloved." Qin Jiaxi closed her eyes, wondering when her formerly aloof brother had ever looked so embarrassed. Yes, it was because Xuanhuan treated her like a good brother in the past that the following days would be so difficult and she would always have expectations. "If I forgive you, that means I'm sorry for all the suffering I've suffered in the past. I can't forgive, and I will never forgive, whether it's you or that woman." Xuanhuan had no hope at all. He could only make a fuss and try to beg other Qin family members, but no one would sympathize with him. After all, he had done so many things to harm his own sister, which the Qin family could not tolerate. Xuanhuan is destined to be removed from the Qin family. In the end, fourth Uncle Qin and Qin Xian stepped forward to help third Uncle Qin see off the guests, while third Uncle Qin took Qin Jiaxi and a group of prisoners to the police station. In the end, third Uncle Qin had only distant relatives to accompany him. The guests who left restrained themselves and talked excitedly. After all, this was the first time they had seen such a wealthy drama, and it was a live version, so it was not too exciting. There are many people here who have various connections with the mainland. Such a big rumor has been spread among the wealthy circles. The wealthy families in the mainland immediately became alert and asked questions that were irrelevant to the wealthy families in Y City. Is Jifei, the new wife of the Qin family's head, also present? Everyone recalls that not only was he present, but he also played a key role. Then I was curious why there was such a problem. The wealthy families in the mainland only said, "You are lucky, and the days in the future will not be boring." Y City wealthy family? It is indeed not boring, because the next few days will be full of follow-up news from the Qin San family. Xuanhuan, the fat man, was imprisoned. Although the time was not long, it was enough to leave a permanent record. At the same time, Uncle Qin announced that he would permanently deprive Xuanhuan of his inheritance rights and leave all his property to his daughter. He would not recognize Xuanhuan as his son and would never be hired by the Qin group. Suzy gave him a verbal warning, but it is said that as soon as he came out, he and his parents were sent abroad by the Su family, which was considered to be completely expelled to the itch. Uxin, Uncle Qin didn't touch her because she couldn't stay in school, so she just dropped out and disappeared. Third Uncle Qin divorced him directly. Not only did third Aunt Qin get clean and leave the house, but he also had to recover all the expenses she had spent on her old lover and compensate for the losses. There is no way to make up for Li Zixuan and her old lover. In the end, the overseas Li family made up for them and promised Uncle Qin that they would never be able to enter Y City again, and the Li family would also cut off their relationship with Li Zixuan from then on. Qin Xian told Jifei that the Li family did this because they didn't want to offend the Qin family, not because they wanted to protect Li Zixuan. So the next day, Jifei didn't feel strange when he heard new news. The Li family personally escorted Li Zixuan and the man back to the city where the man was. Li Zixuan could only be forced to live with the man. Even so, they still loved each other, awesome, but the man had run away from debt. He had squandered all the money he had gotten from Li Zixuan and never paid back the money. The creditor came to collect the debt directly. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbs feed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 389. Xuanhuan only found out the truth she couldn't adapt to the poor life these days, so she started quarreling with men in the end. She was pushed down by the man and had a miscarriage. Everything began to become disillusioned. Now Xuanhuan desperately wants to come back to find her third uncle, and Jia 11, also tried to contact them, obviously wanting to turn around. Qin Lauer and his family, who were eavesdropping on the side, were disgusted, but please don't contact them. Even if you know you won't look back, your mood will be affected, okay? Look at GXC now, how happy she is after a few days of sadness. Ha ha ha. What's funnier is that before she was sent away, the Li family deprived her of all electronic equipment, so she didn't even remember the contact information between her third uncle and GXC. She really deserved it. Then she ran away and was caught by a man. He asked her to help pay off the debt. Well, it can only be said that evil will be punished. It is inappropriate to let a good rich lady go. She doesn't want an excellent husband and a well-behaved daughter, but she just finds it for herself. Suffer. Qin Lauer's family all praised in their hearts, this ending is okay. Except for Qin Lauer's family, who had finished eating the pumpkin, others no longer paid attention to this matter. Of course, when the old man in the family heard about this, he frowned so much that he could kill a fly. In less than a month, 2 people in the family have divorced. The old man has already considered whether to go to the temple to worship. Although it is good to know the truth and protect his family, it is really evil. I hope that the old 5 and 6 who will be back soon will not cause any trouble again. Otherwise, the Qin family's population will be drastically reduced during the future birthday party. As for the matter of driving Xuanhuan out of the house, the old man has no objection. If he dares to take action against his own family, there is no need to stay. The Qin family can never deal with the Qin family. After that, Mr. Qin not only went to the temple to show off, but also invited a master to come to his home to check the feng shui. When Ji Fei saw it, he sighed. Sure enough, rich families would still believe in this kind of thing. But that night, Qin Xian was in a bad mood, hugging Ji Fei and kissing her passionately. The gun almost went off. Ji Fei felt that Qin Xian was whispering in her ears, "Fei Fei, I love you." Ji Fei seemed to have been in a steamer all the time, so hot that her whole body was steaming. Ji Fei held Qin Xian's handsome face and kissed her. Looking at Qin Xian's slightly trembling eyelashes, she asked, "What's wrong?" Qin Xian complained, "Master said that the marriage and love affairs of the children of the Qin family have been prone to problems in the past 2 years. It is a big disaster. It will be fine if the disaster is over. So Grandpa politely suggested that I hold the wedding with you later, for fear that we will also be affected." Influence. Ji Fei's cheeks turned red. Although the two of them never mentioned it, it was almost a matter of course. Qin Xian suddenly raised his head, kissed Ji Fei's forehead, and said seriously, "I want to really marry you. I wanted to wait until Grandpa's birthday." Ji Fei's heart was moved because even though Qin Xian didn't know about that real marriage, to Ji Fei, that was the real marriage to her. Ji Fei couldn't help but kiss Qin Xian's lips movingly, and then murmured sweetly, making a promise. "I don't believe in that, so I listen to you." After saying that, Ji Fei even told herself that she was shy and immediately shrank into the quilt. She just said it on impulse, and she didn't know when she would start, but she was already willing to completely hand over herself to Qin Xian. She didn't know if she was in love, because she completely trusted Qin Xian without knowing it. This night, although the two did not make it to the end, they still stayed as close to each other as possible. Qin Xian seemed to have an obsession. Even if Ji Fei showed no resistance or fear, Qin Xian still wanted to have a wedding ceremony in their wedding room on the day he officially married her. But even if she didn't finish it, Ji Fei was already so tired that she just wanted to lie down the next day. On this day, Ji Fei and others were still playing around. It was rare that fourth Uncle Qin's twins were free today. Instead of going to the company, they came to see them and offered to take them out to play. Among them, Qin Xiao was particularly excited. I see that the second sister-in-law and the third brother usually play games, so how about taking you to watch the celebrity entertainment game today? I happen to be in the city, and I sponsored it. Ji Fei only fights occasionally, but Qin Xiao is more familiar with it. Oh, you want us to meet her boyfriend who was bought with money? Qin Xiao and Qin Rong also became interested when they heard this. Qin Xiao didn't hide it, and said directly, by the way, I want you to see my boyfriend. If he passes your test and you think he is qualified, I will take him to Grandpa's birthday banquet later. In fact, Qin Xiao meant it just for fun. Wherever they needed to review, the little girl was very independent. She just liked that man, so naturally she didn't care about other aspects. This time it is just for everyone to get acquainted with her boyfriend in advance. I haven't seen my boyfriend for a long time. I really miss him and want to go and see him. But her brother Qin Jing did not tolerate her, and said directly, then if I fail the review, you will break up with me. Qin Xiao immediately narrowed his eyes and said, then be careful. You still have a mysterious girlfriend who needs to be reviewed. If you don't hinder me, I will let you go smoothly. The brother and sister started to fight each other again. During the fight, everyone set off together. Qin Yi said he couldn't stand the noisy place and didn't go there. Qin Jiaxi still had to go to class. In the end, Qin Jing, Qin Xiao, and Ji Fei took the three of them to a gathering place for young people. An esports star game. Qin Xiao, as the sponsor, was naturally led to the best VIP room as soon as they entered the stadium. As a result, they heard noises nearby as soon as they entered. Why let them in but not us? That room looks much better than ours. Are you selling the spectator seats behind the team's back? We are your guests, shouldn't you treat us well? A noisy woman's voice came. Everyone in the Qin family ignored them and walked into the room and sat down. Ji Fei couldn't change her gossipy nature, and took a look as if she was watching the fun. It was a group of people, led by a woman with a fierce and mean face. When the staff came in, Qin Xiao put on airs and asked, what's up with those noisy people just now? The person who came even glanced at Qin Xiao carefully and said, Sister Qin, that's Captain Wen's mother. The organizer of this event sent extra invitations to each team member, allowing them to bring their family and friends to Y City to watch the game and have fun. Qin Xiao was stunned. Wenbo's mother? Okay, I know, go down. The staff left. Qin Xiao was a little embarrassed. She hadn't heard Wenbo say that he would bring his mother with him before. Just now, she ignored him directly. Now think about it, according to their relationship, isn't it a bit rude? Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbs feed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Yu. Chapter 390. Should I go say hello? That's my boyfriend's mother. Qin Xiao was a little confused. Just listening to what the woman said, She knew that she was not easy to get along with. Qin Xiao was a little nervous. An ugly daughter-in-law always has to meet her parents-in-law, unless you don't plan to stay with him for a long time, Qin Jing said. Qin Chao asked curiously, what is his family situation like? In the past, they did not consider family, but they have seen so many dirty things caused by the wrong family. Now they feel that for the sake of safety, the most important reference factor is the right family. Qin Xiao said, his family comes from a scholarly family, but it's a bit in decline. Ah! A scholarly family, Qin Rong felt incredible. She asked Qin Xiao with her eyes if she was joking with her. After all, the aunt's voice just now didn't really sound like she was from a scholarly family. Qin Jing chuckled and said, I have met that boy a few times. Although we didn't communicate much, he was polite and gave people a good impression, but he was a bit flattering. He probably wanted to please the brother of the sponsor. There is nothing wrong with anything else, but when I see this mom today, Xiao needs to keep her eyes peeled. Qin Xiao rubbed his head and said, I only know that my ancestor came from a scholarly family. Later, his family fell into decline, and all his family were ordinary office workers. He came out to play games early because he was talented in playing games. But his team has always performed well. Not good, people keep withdrawing their capital, and then you accidentally fell in love with him, started spending money to support the team, and became his girlfriend, Qin Rong asked curiously. Qin Xiao nodded. No, you're not worried. He only cares about money, Qin Chao couldn't help but ask. Qin Jing immediately bared his teeth in ridicule. Thinking of this, he must have told his sister that he was just not trying to please her. Qin Xiao immediately held his head high, I don't care at all whether Wenbo is with me because of money. I never consider such troublesome issues. I have money to invest in the team and let Wenbo depend on me. It's my advantage. There are men who love beautiful faces, there are men who love cute personalities, and there are men who love money. Who is nobler than the other? Anyway, I will always have money, and his team will always need money, and he can still stay happy with me. A relationship is the best of both worlds. Anyway, my dad just wants to be happy no matter what kind of partner we choose to get married. I have already thought about it. If we really get married, I will also prepare a prenuptial agreement. If he is worthy of me, he will love me for the rest of his life. I'm sorry, then I'll say goodbye. Qin Rong was stunned, but she felt that it made sense. At least it was much safer than her eldest sister or cousin. Qin Chao always felt that this approach seemed familiar. Qin Jing was speechless every time he heard his sister's nonsense. After all, he still relied on soul resonance, otherwise he wouldn't engage in online dating. Qin Xiao is really good, she is actually tempted and really likes her, but at the same time she is rational, knows the pros and cons of black and white, and will not get into trouble. This is good, and she will always be invincible thinking about it this way. I don't need to check on Wenbai for her after all, even if I know that the worst thing about that man is that he is with Qin Xiao because of money, there is nothing to say. Qin Xiao is different from Qin Jiaxi. She doesn't need protection from others. She has already made armor for herself. Everyone was having fun chatting about this topic, but Qin Xiao and Qin Jing bickered fiercely because of their different ideas. I talk about the love between you and your girlfriend every day, but you have the ability to call her out? I don't believe that she can be as cute as you said. The photos look fake to me. Don't see her true face then. If you are so scared that you run away immediately, then I will laugh at your true love, Qin Xiao countered. Every time Qin Xiao talks about face-to-face, Qin Jing gets scared. Because his birthday is approaching recently, he has mentioned face-to-face to the other party several times, but the other party keeps finding reasons to refuse, which makes his confidence shaken. It's just not apparent on the surface. The reason why he came to play with everyone today is not because he likes playing games, but because his girlfriend's account has the logo of this game, so he guessed that his girlfriend also likes it. Although after asking, the other party didn't seem to care much, but seeing the opportunity, he still wanted to make a trip, take photos and videos of the scene with his girlfriend, and then use this as an excuse to invite her to meet. If the other party really likes to play games and has the opportunity to meet a star player, he should be willing to do so. Soon the game started, and no one had time to talk about the problem of not meeting their parents. Qin Xiao thought it would be better to wait for the game to end and go with Wenbei. Halfway through the game, Team Wenbei was leading. Jifei had eaten too much fruit and had to go to the toilet. As soon as I walked out of the door, I turned around and was almost startled when I saw an old lady who was about to turn around nervously. "What are you doing?" Jifei recognized it. It was Wenbei's mother. Wen Muo, passing by. Jifei narrowed her eyes slightly, turned around and walked away. When she passed the corner, she immediately stopped and then peeked her head in to take a look. At a glance, he saw Wen's mother coming back again, lying secretly at the door, as if she wanted to listen to the sound inside. Jifei. She thinks it would be better for Qin Xiao to find another boyfriend. If she has a mother-in-law like this, isn't she afraid that after the couple gets married, this mother-in-law will also hide behind the door? Jifei fantasized about that scene in a playful way, and she felt goosebumps all over her body. Just when she was about to make a scary sound, she heard Mother Wen murmuring, "I must have read it right." Jifei raised her eyebrows, thinking that Mother Wen had seen Qin Xiao's photo at her son's place. She had just seen it and regarded Qin Xiao as his future wife, so she took the initiative to come forward to meet her son's girlfriend. Or do you think the other party should come and say hello to her? Jifei would not be polite to her because of her status. After all, she liked to punish this kind of people. So Jifei leaned directly against the wall and coughed heavily. Mother Wen was so frightened that she jumped up on the spot and cursed her reflexively. Then she saw a particularly beautiful woman looking at her with a half-smile. Mother Wen suddenly felt that her face was dull, and she quickly turned around and ran away with a stiff face. Jifei didn't continue to be in trouble, she was just scaring people. After a lot of twists and turns, I finally found the toilet. Just after I washed my hands and came out, I saw two figures and curses in the corridor outside. "It's you, it's you. You shameless male fox, who allowed you to seduce my son. You are shameless, and our Wen family wants you. We are a scholarly family. We can't tolerate dirty things like you." Mother Wen was scolding and waving her arms at the man, as if she wanted to slap him. And that man turned out to be Qin Zheng.